600,000 of your neighbors were just laid off. An entire industry has been shut down in the face of this, all for the greater good.
I was in the command post. I heard it. I heard the governor say, give it up.
At 9:32, Chief Arredondo calls the mayor to tell him they've lost control, can no longer maintain order in the city.
I'm going to show you who Tim Walz really is in this video. Howdy y'all, I'm Brylan. Well, Kamala did it. The totally legitimate, not installed presidential candidate for the Democratic Party just picked her VP, who's also totally legitimate and not installed. You know, we could just be thankful that it's not the evil white man that the left has been warning us about. Harris taps Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate. It's funny how official everything sounds when literally nothing that Kamala has done or has been doing, like ever, has been actually official, at least, you know, in the sense of the Constitution. You know, she's never actually won any votes. She's never actually been appointed to her position through the people. But that's okay. Remember, everything's opposite. You know, this is an absolutely horrible choice, but it's kind of exactly who they want for Kamala Harris's VP. You know, they want a white guy that can come off as the more moderate than who Kamala is to the average everyday American who doesn't really pay attention. Now, Tim Walz is not moderate in any way, shape, or form. In fact, he is radical to the core, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. I'm going to show you how radical Tim Walz is, and I'm going to show you the things that they don't want you to know, what the elites, mainstream media, what they are going to try to hide from you. I'm going to show you who Tim Walz really is in this video. And hey, real quick, would you hit that thumbs up button? You know, when you like this video, you're not agreeing with this insanity, but you're helping push this video out to more people to help spread the truth. Now, Tim Walz is endorsed by the Human Rights Campaign, an absolute radical leftist organization that only rewards people for doing the opposite of good. You can see here for 2022 governor and lieutenant governor, they endorsed Tim Walz and Peggy Flanagan. If it's the opposite of truth and you promote it, then the Human Rights Campaign is on your side. In fact, Tim Walz holds one of the most radical LGBT positions in the entire nation. He has signed executive orders making his state, Minnesota, essentially a sanctuary state for LGB. That means twan children can go through all of the things with the body and all the things you're not allowed to talk about. He also signed an executive order protecting twan in his state. Now, this is equality here. You know, they like to call it equality, but there's nothing equal about it. In fact, they have turned LGB into a cult. Make no mistake about it, it is a religion to the radical left. If you don't sell your soul to this cult, then you will suffer the consequences, which usually involves some sort of destruction. In fact, here's Minnesota's official website. This was a law that Walz signed protecting Minnesotans' rights. Prohibits mental health practitioners or mental health professionals from providing therapy to vulnerable adults and clients under the age of 18. Now, all this means is that it's literally illegal to look into any alternative whatsoever. The only decision you are allowed to make is snip, snip. Chapter 31, House File 366. The Reproductive Freedom Defense Act ensures that patients traveling to Minnesota for abhorrent care and the providers who serve them are protected from legal attacks and criminal penalties from other states. In fact, check this out. Minnesota governor signs bill codifying fundamental right to abhorrent into law. Now, this picture is, well, look at it. All these women standing around clapping at the fact that they can now slaughter a child in their womb. And it's kind of ironic. Look at this. They have children standing here clapping as he signs this bill codifying abhorrent. Hey kids, this bill means you wouldn't have been born. Now, Walz also did this. He said, censorship has no place in our libraries. As a former teacher, I'm clear. We need to remember our history, not erase it. Today, I signed a bill into law putting an end to book bans based on ideology in Minnesota. Now, this sounds very astute, doesn't it? Well, no. Essentially, what he's doing here is banning the ability to ban books that are overly sexualized for children. Also, here's a post from Walz. It says, as states across the country move to ban access to affirming care, this executive order delivers the urgent action that our LGBT Minnesotans deserve, with children standing around him and Twan and LGBT, all the things. He signs this into law. Once again, he's like, hey kid, snip, snip. You know, we all know that the left is the party of socialism. They would love to implement socialism in this nation. It would utterly destroy us. Socialism is destructive. All it does is destroy. It gives power to the few to destroy the lives of the many. You know, that's why they like to push so much their democracy. This is our democracy. You'll never hear a leftist say constitutional republic anymore, because they want their democracy, not your democracy, their democracy to stick in your hearts and in your minds so that you fall for it and you believe it, and it'll soon turn into this socialistic society. Listen to Tim Walz endorse socialism.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Now, this isn't fear-mongering at all. It's just the truth. If you want to lose your basic freedoms as an American under the Constitution of the United States of America, then vote for Harris Walz to implement socialism, and you will get what you wanted. Once again, here's the Minnesota official website. This is another bill that Walz signed. Look at this. Governor Walz signs bill expanding access to driver's licenses. You thought the border was bad now. Wait until a Harris Walz presidency. And look what they're going to do. Governor Tim Walz today signed a bill into law expanding eligibility for a standard Minnesota driver's license by allowing Minnesotans, regardless of immigration status, to obtain a license. With an estimated 81,000 undocumented migrants in Minnesota, the bill will increase safety across Minnesota. You see how they like to spin it? Like, it's going to make you safer if we allow people who are here against the law to have the same rights as you. In fact, here's video of him signing that bill.
It's done.
A packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
They're not even chanting in English. And here's Walz describing how he's going to help protect the border.
And I think seeing a plan that's out there, talking about it with folks, knowing that he's not going to do anything. He talks about this wall. I always say, let me know how high it is. If it's 25 feet, then I'll invest in the 30-foot ladder factory.
If we have a 25-foot wall on the border, Tim will make sure to invest in a 30-foot ladder factory so that people can more easily get into our country. I feel so secure. Now, Tim Walz has also essentially flipped on the Second Amendment. You know, he used to be more on the side of gun rights for Americans, standing for the Second Amendment. Well, somewhere around 2018, he completely flipped. In fact, before 2018, Tim Walz was actually endorsed by the NRA, believe it or not, and he has come out after 2018 and rebuked the NRA and rebuked the Second Amendment. Now, essentially, would like to ban the Second Amendment. That's the goal. But in the meantime, is in favor of gun registries and making it way more difficult for law-abiding American citizens to purchase a firearm. Now, Walz was also one of the many leftists that helped create the hysteria back in 2020 during the BLM riots that destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars in property and left several people lifeless. The 2020 riots and destruction is an absolute stain on our country, and you can expect more of that with a Harris-Walz presidency. Check this out. This is what Minnesota looked like during the protest that they told us were peaceful. So many people lost their livelihoods and their businesses. Again, there was hundreds of millions of dollars of destruction. In fact, here's a video of the city burning all around them. Look at this. In fact, here's another view of Minnesota. Again, this is not somewhere else in the world. This is not overseas. This is in America. This is Minnesota under the watch of Tim Walz. Listen to Walz describe the reason for the destruction.
A society that does not put equity and inclusion at the center of it is certainly going to eventually come to the places where we're at. This is a moment of inflection. It's a moment of real change. It's a moment that those folks who are out there demanding this are not going to take a commission or a report. They're going to want fundamental change. And that is what I think, that's one of the exciting things in the midst of all this. You can feel a sense of optimism coming back.
What? You can feel optimism coming back. These people aren't going to stand for anything less than DEI? Now check out this video that shows just how radical Tim Walz is.
I've just signed Executive Order 20-01 declaring a peacetime state of emergency for the state of Minnesota. We need to stop congregating. We're going to close the bars. We're going to close the restaurants. We're going to close the places where we gather. Several 100,000 of your neighbors were just laid off. An entire industry has been shut down in the face of this, all for the greater good.
The governor, with the power of the state constitution behind him, has issued 104 executive orders affecting everything from schools to restaurants and bars to churches to basically every facet of everyday life.
Democrats who control the House are moving in the opposite direction. Some are pushing to put a mask mandate in state law.
Hi ho the diarrhea, why wear a mask to school? It helps to keep me safe.
Explosive testimony from a Minneapolis police union official who says that the governor ordered cops to abandon that 3rd precinct during the spring's rioting.
I was in the command post. I heard it. I heard the governor say, give it up.
At 9:32, Chief Arredondo calls the mayor to tell him they've lost control, can no longer maintain order in the city. And then at 10:13, Chief Arredondo, who's monitoring the scene from a couple blocks away, gets on the radio to announce defeat.
It's a citywide tone right now, and a loss of the 3rd precinct.
The 3rd precinct has been compromised.
Now, they don't want you to know any of this about Tim Walz, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. But now you know. This is who Tim Walz is. An absolute radical. And he's not even as radical as Kamala. So let's get this straight real quick. Tim Walz restored voting to felons, fueled the BLM riots that caused hundreds of millions of dollars in destruction and took the lives of several people, changed Minnesota's flag to look like a 3rd world country's flag, sent people with co-fraud to elderly homes, had some of the strictest co-fraud regulations in the entire nation, made Minnesota an LGB sanctuary state, pushes for twin hormone therapy and surgeries for children, praises socialism and endorses it, and holds some of the most anti-Second Amendment position. Now combine all that with Harris being literally ranked the most liberal politician in the entire government. I want to encourage you with this though. This is Philippians chapter 4. Look at verse 4 here. It says, rejoice in the Lord always. Not sometimes, not part of the time, not when things are going good, but always. Paul makes it a point to repeat this. Again, I will say, rejoice. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Verse 6, listen to the powerful truth in these verses. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, meaning to ask the Lord. Pray that the Lord supply something that isn't there. And to do this with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, meaning this is a peace that we cannot comprehend in and of itself. It can only be given by God. It cannot be found elsewhere. No matter how much we try to find peace outside of God, we will not find it. But it says that we will be given a peace that surpasses our ability to understand it, and it will guard our hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. God is in complete control. Nothing that man does will prevail over what God's will is. But the Bible also tells us to not give up, to continue the fight for truth. And we're living in a time now where we cannot give up. We cannot look the other way. We must stand on the truth of God's word, pray and ask God for favor and truth to be restored to this nation. But no matter what, we can rejoice in the fact that God is in control. But hey, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, join this community. I would love to hear from you regularly. And please hit that thumbs up button as well. You know, when you like this video, it'll get pushed out to more people and it would really help spread the truth. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.